So hi everyone, this is Jeff with Startup Junto. I have here with me today Pattie Diggin. Pattie is the director at the Cottrell Entrepreneurial Center here at Westchester University. Pattie, thanks
Hi,
for being
Jeff.
on today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you want to give a little more introduction about yourself?
Sure. As Jeff mentioned, I'm the director of the Cottrell Entrepreneurial Leadership Center here at Westchester University. Prior to taking on this role at the center, I was an adjunct professor in the departments of marketing and management here at the college for the past 7 years. And prior to that, my professional background, I would say, is in sales and marketing and business development. And I also owned my own business, which is what I think we're going to be talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So Pattie, what business did you have? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
sure, happy to. So back in 2004, I decided that uh, an opportunity came up for me to purchase an ongoing business.
Mm-hmm.
It's a children's book and toy store. At the time, it was called Book Fair, and I changed the name afterwards to Tales and Toys. But Book Fair, as I said, was a children's book and toy store located in Chadsford, Pennsylvania, an independent store. It seemed like it had a really great track record as a business, so I decided to jump feet first, as they say, into running a retail store.
Mm-hmm.
It had a lot of great opportunities for me, but it also presented a lot of challenges that I know we'll discuss a bit about today.
Uh-huh. So what made you want to, own your own business and,
Right. Become an entrepreneur,
become
make
an
that leap.
entrepreneur?
Well, as with a lot of business or people that are thinking of starting their own business, though you're spending a lot of time, you do have flexibility because it is your business. So
Mm-hmm.
the time that you spend, you determine what that time frame is. I also was working at the center where the store was located at the shopping center, and I knew the previous owner, and it's at the time, independent book selling was still relatively strong, particularly in the children's market.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like a great opportunity for me to be my own boss. At the time, I still had three sons that were in um, elementary school or younger. My youngest was 5. So I thought that I would have the time and the flexibility. I wanted to go back to work full time. I had been working part time before that. So it seemed like a really good opportunity for those reasons and for others. Just I guess everyone or many people at some point in time feel like, the day to day working in corporate isn't necessarily for them. So why not try to do something on their own? And I was very passionate about it because, as I said, I had children at that point in time.
Yeah.
A lot of the inventory that we carried, I was buying all that inventory for my own children.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just seemed to be a good fit at that particular point in my life.
Yeah. So did you approach the business owners at the time about, taking this over, or did you know that they were actively trying to get out of the business?
Yes, so I was personal friends, as I said, because my role prior to that, I was the marketing manager for the center.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I originally started as the manager of the center in the 90s. And I worked part time trying to run marketing programs for about 26 businesses that were located there. I moved on to work for a couple of advertising agencies and took the shopping center with me as an account.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an ongoing relationship with all the business owners there
Yeah.
prior to me buying the store.
Mm-hmm.
So I had worked with the former owner on a lot of book signings and events that she had in the store. So when she was selling the business, she approached me as a potential customer to see
Okay.
if that was something I might be interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
she reached out to me.
so how did you go about, buying the business? Did you do fundraising? Did you take out a loan?
Yeah,
Did
so
you have savings?
that's something that I think is a valuable lesson for anyone that wants to either purchase an ongoing business, start their own business, whatever it is that you're going to do, you're going to need money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everyone in traditional times, back in the early 2000s, traditional business plans were still viable. I'm not so sure that they are used as often now as they were in the past, but I was an MBA graduate from Westchester University, so I knew how to write a really great business plan. So I spent a lot of time putting all the charts and the graphs and all the great things that I was going to do to grow this business
Mhm.
and broaden its reach. And I took that business plan with me, along with my husband. Fortunately, I took with me to the bank because the first place I knew I was going to go was to a bank to get a business loan.
Yeah.
Well, the bank wasn't overly impressed with my business plan, not quite sure if they looked at it. Um, so, what the bank wanted to know is what other equity do I have that they can count on if they're going to loan me money. So, I think people need to know that banks aren't going to be all excited because you have this great idea
Hmm.
or that you want to buy this business that has good potential. They want to know what other assets do you have that could back up the fact that we're going to give you a loan.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that isn't necessarily talked about all that often.
Hmm.
But, you know, if you talk about funding sources, we here at the Entrepreneurship Center, family and friends is usually your first step,
Hmm.
and then it is borrowing. And there's, you know, now women-owned businesses, there's certain types of loans that you can get. Small Business Administration is a great resource. I've learned a lot about more resources than traditional banks that are available now through my work here.
Yeah.
I didn't know it back then and just went for a traditional bank loan,
Hmm.
commercial loan.
What would you recommend to, a startup founder who is in the phase where they're looking to, raise funding? Would you say look to your closest?
Well, I mean, family and friends is a great place to start, but if you're going to, you're going to need a lot more than that.
Hmm.
But I don't know that they necessarily have to go to traditional bank type funder. So there are, as I said, I think the Small Business Administration is a great source to check into.
Yeah.
I do know, as I said, that women-owned and minority-owned businesses, there's other sources of funding that you can get. Ben Franklin Technology, I know or Ben Franklin is a big loan lender in the Philadelphia market. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them,
Okay.
but you can look them up. I know it's Ben Franklin, I believe. And I would just check with organizations that support entrepreneurs and check their website, see if they have resources of places that you can go for funding. And then if you are going to look to work with a commercial bank, I think a lot of times your smaller banks are more committed to small business.
Hmm.
Also, credit unions. I know credit unions, and there's quite a few of them.
Yeah.
They have different lending premises as well, so you may want to check into those. But you will need to have. It's helpful. I had a home that they could put up as equity.
Would you
and
recommend
my
putting
husband-
up personal assets for?
Well, I will tell you, I've talked to some really successful entrepreneurs. There's a woman that actually the furniture that we're using here in the Cottrell Center, her company does interiors for large building hospitals. I mean, the name of her believe it's Corporate Interiors. Janice Leone is the owner and CEO and founder of that business, and also an alumni of Westchester University and one of our former entrepreneurs in residence. Janice will tell you that the one thing you have to be prepared to do if you really want to dive in is to lose maybe everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have to put a mortgage on your home. This sounds horrible, but if you are that committed to your business, and I just came back for a conference where we were, a lot of the keynote speakers were entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
and their stories are all, it doesn't just happen that you one day create a website and the next day everyone's using it and you're making millions of dollars. There's a lot of hard work and grit,
Yeah,
and
blood, sweat, and tears that go into
and
starting a business.
yeah, and a lot of it is tied around the financial piece. How much are you willing to put out there to make your dream come true? And that's a really difficult consideration. You have
Yeah.
to know that I was fortunate that I was in a place where my husband had a full-time job and
Mhm.
we had, a home, and so we could so make sure that the time is right for you.
Yeah.
I mean, don't give up on your dream. As I said, this young woman that spoke at the conference I was at, she basically was living in hostels at one point just because that was, what she could afford. And her family, she said her parents did a reverse mortgage to give her $200,000 because
Wow.
they really believed in what she was doing. So yeah, hopefully, it all works out, but you have to be willing. And as I said, Janice said, you have to be knowing that you will give everything you need to give
Hmm.
if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not a 9 to 5.
Nope.
So.
And financially, it's gonna, you're not gonna have a lot before
Hmm.
maybe one day you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have an exit strategy going into this? Did you think about that when you jumped in?
No, and probably should have.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things, and I think we've talked before about there's a lot of things that if I could do it over, I would do it better,
Yeah.
which is, I think, the mantra of most entrepreneurs. That's why we always talk about failure being okay.
What are a few things that you would really do over? That you.
Plan out things like an exit strategy. Plan out. So here, as I said, I had this great business plan, but I didn't set up milestones to go back and revisit that business plan. I didn't benchmark the business. I didn't follow my cash flow as closely as I should have.
Mhm.
I didn't seek support from outside other people that, people that are entrepreneurs are very passionate about helping other entrepreneurs, as you know, Jeff.
Absolutely.
So you can always reach out to another entrepreneur or join an entrepreneur meetup or organizations such as you do here,
Mhm.
and ask them, what do you think I should do? You don't need to live on your own. Go to conferences when you find that they're available. Just the connections that you're going to make can help you be more successful.
Mhm.
Also, one of the things that I learned is I can't do everything, and you can't do everything as an owner of a business. Now you're going to say, but I can't afford. You kind of have to build that into your ongoing budget too.
Yeah.
And if it's not staff that's directly working for you, then you can outsource things. For example, let's take accounting. So I'm not very strong in accounting. My husband did do the payroll and the taxes and things of that nature. And of course, we had a professional accountant to do our annual tax return.
Mhm.
But maybe I needed someone to be doing bookkeeping for me, because the woman that was doing it for me at my store, she wasn't even using QuickBooks at the time.
Yeah. And QuickBooks can be
So-
self-taught as
Sure.
well too. There's QuickBooks is a great way to do your
Mhm.
accounting, to handle all of your banking, your payments,
Mhm.
even invoicing now.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other HR companies,
Yeah.
like Gusto, for example, where you can handle all of your salaries.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular service, even at the end of the year, sends out W-2s and
Yeah.
does all the taxes,
Yeah.
for you automatically, and does the quarterly filings. So it's there's a lot of resources
Mhm.
out there, and don't go into it thinking, oh, I'll just do it all.
Right.
Well,
How
do your
hard can it be?
Yeah, do your research
Yeah.
beforehand.
Yeah. And understand, again, you don't know till you go in the hidden costs.
Yeah.
So,
What were some hidden costs that you came across?
well, first of all, how much it costs to have an employee on your books.
Mhm.
And then everybody said, and you really want to not have everybody off the books. It's not legal, number one. And, you can get a little supportive help, but you really are going to have to hire employees. Fortunately, my employees were all part-time, so benefits wasn't part of the issue. But if you're going to have a company where you're providing benefits, that I'm assuming is a major cost that you need to factor in.
Mhm.
The cost of electricity, for example.
Yeah.
So electricity for a business, when we all still use Pico, is much more expensive than electricity for a home. Why? I don't know. But when you're a commercial customer versus a residential customer, the rates are different.
Yeah.
So the overhead. Now,
Did you
I
know
had a
what your
physical
overhead
space.
was going
I,
to be
I
coming into
again, one of the things that we did wrong, and I will tell you also, there are business brokers available, just as you have real estate brokers. There are business brokers. So if someone is buying a business, as if that's going to be their segue into entrepreneurship, I would suggest perhaps meeting with a business broker.
Yeah.
Because we did meet with a business broker halfway through when we were going to switch from one location to another, or the other thought we had in mind was to get out of the business. And this was 2 or 3 years before I actually did close down the business. Met with that business broker, learned so many things that I didn't know before
Mhm.
about how you value a business. So you talked about the exit strategy. When you're selling a business, how do you value, how the people that sold us the business, we didn't meet with a business broker, so they just came up with the terms. And
Did they
they-
determine their terms themselves?
yeah,
Did they have
and
a
we
business
didn't
broker help
really
them?
bargain them.
Yeah.
They said, this is how much you're going to pay for goodwill, which is what, when you buy an ongoing business, you're basically buying the customers and perhaps fixtures and computer systems, which were antiquated.
Mhm.
We bought a lot of their inventory. Mistake, wouldn't have done that, or I would have done it at a much lower price.
Yeah.
Again, if I had spoken to someone that even SCORE of Chester and Delaware County, which is a free service, or gone to some of their seminars, how do I buy a business, how do I start a business,
Mhm.
you would learn all of these things ahead of time. And we were two educated professionals with master's MBA degrees that thought we knew it. We didn't know it.
Yeah.
And now I've learned it. And as
Mhm.
I said, I've learned a lot more working here at the center. but do your homework.
Yeah.
Like, here I am in the university saying do your homework, but really, do your homework.
Yeah.
I mean, this is your livelihood, so.
Yeah, and doing as much of that research beforehand is vital, because becoming an entrepreneur, you're not an entrepreneur until you do it, and you
Right.
won't learn how to become an entrepreneur until you experience the life of an entrepreneur.
Yep.
And the decisions that you have to make and the consequences of the
Yep.
decisions, whether good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's always some an action or a reaction to our actions.
Sure.
So understanding where things are going to go is definitely important.
Yeah,
in
and there's
starting
things that are going to happen that are going to be beyond your control. So to my defense, I do not have that retail business any longer, as we can probably all guess. In my defense, a lot of things were happening in the economy during that time frame.
But did you buy this business?
2004.
2004. Okay.
So that in 2004, Amazon and Walmart really started to rev it up, right?
Oh, yeah.
So now that's when they really started to make themselves known. So you have these two big mammoths.
When high-speed internet came in,
Yeah.
and dial-up was a thing of the past.
Exactly. So now look at Amazon, what they've done to the book industry in general. Fortunately, children's books haven't been impacted as much because, fortunately, I think parents realize that, looking at the picture book is better than reading it on a tablet.
Yeah.
But the toy industry Amazon totally changed that, and Walmart. A lot of people would do what we call showcasing. So come in, visit the store, touch, feel, and look at the products they were going to buy. Then go out of the store and go back and order them online and see if they could get a better price. So
which is almost always the case, because the online retailers don't have the overhead.
And a lot of people fortunately plug out there still to support small business, because it really does matter. You have to do it as a habit, not
supporting the local businesses. Support your local economy. Supporting your local economy affects everything around you, from your school district to how well your streets are paved,
the
sidewalks,
value of your home.
Yeah, the value of your home.
Yeah.
So
but you have to make it a conscious, I'm going to do this as often as I can, not just a one-off, which I think a lot of people do. Oh, the holidays, I'll go shop local, or shop local Saturday that American Express does. You've got to try to do it a little bit more often. I mean, we're all guilty of going on Amazon because it's convenient.
Becoming a regular customer of local businesses is huge, because
absolutely.
If they have someone that comes every week on Thursdays, and there's 100 other people that have that mentality. Well, there's 100 regular customers that all they're doing is going once a week to give their business and their support.
Yep.
But that goes a long ways to, those local businesses who can't rely on the waves of customers that may come in seasonally, or when things might get trendy for a couple months or for a year for a particular product, and then that will always simmer out. But having those established regular customers and that regular support,
very important.
They become your boots on the ground. They will advocate for you. So growing those relationships, and I've seen that with my parents' businesses. My mother's especially. She has a bakery and cafe, and she's built relationships with every single one of her regular customers, and she spends just as much time just making small talk with people as she is actually working there. But that small talk goes such a long way in creating that that relationship. And that's what brings people back. It's most stores can give you almost the same features. By features I mean,
sure, anyone can carry the same type of inventory.
Yeah, but the experience that they get when they walk into your business, or decide to take you on as a provider for a service, that will make a huge difference.
Yep, and another thing that I think is helpful is talk to people that do the same thing that you do. So one of the things, if there is a shining star of what did work when I had the store, because clearly a lot of things worked. So having author signings was a great, having events, and I knew a lot of businesses do that. As you said, that customer touch point. I mean, all the big companies try to do that too. They can't do it as effectively as you can. So if you're a small business, know that that's something that I think that you trump them on. But also, as I said, connecting with people who are doing what you are doing. So I belong to an organization called the Good Toy Group, and we would they put out a catalog at the holidays every year, and also at other points in the year. But the holiday one was what we were required to do. So basically, what they did was they selected, let's say, 150 toys that we were going to have as our Good Toy Group store toys that year. You paid a certain amount to get the catalog and have it distributed to 10,000 of your customers. It was a great marketing tool.
Yeah.
It kind of put a stamp of approval that the Good Toy Group selected these products. So that was something that worked well. So I would recommend, if there's anything that your industry is doing collaboratively, that you get involved in that, because there's enough space for everyone to have a piece of the business. So I think those collaborations are really important also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's great guidance that you can get. Might be able to find a mentor or somebody that can provide you help and support. Maybe not monetarily, but the advice that's invaluable. You can't put a price on some of those things, because good advice can make or break a business.
Absolutely.
So
some of the like messages, I guess, if we were trying to kind of summarize what we're talking about today, is do your research, right? So know what it is that you're doing before you do it. Don't think you know everything, because you don't. We all think we do. I thought, oh, I'm the best marketer out there. I could sell anything, and I can. I can sell, right? That doesn't mean because I could sell that I could manage my books, or understand that if I don't have enough cash to buy new inventory, I have to sell the inventory that I already have.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into the
Right.
operations.
Or downsize, don't expand to a newer, bigger location. That's not necessarily going to save you. One thing people should know, too, is have a budget going in. So whatever your business is, you're going to have to market it, okay? People aren't just going to come to you. You're not going to be able to use just social media that's free to boost your business. You're going to have a marketing budget. And I think that's really important. And I say that having worked a lot of my career in marketing, most of my career, people always think, wow, I can't invest in marketing. If you can't, then you may not want to be in your own business, because that is really important. You're going to have to spend some money in that space. And
the marketing, that goes along with, your referral business, and that stuff is really great, but that's not necessarily I was talking to somebody recently, and they made it very clear, like, that type of marketing, like referral marketing, isn't scalable.
Right.
As you try to get bigger. So it's not a reliable source of scaling. And, an established marketing campaign that you have, across different channels is more easily scalable. It might take more money, but you can reach more audience. You can have more targeted campaigns. So it's a more realistic thing to rely on than just getting referral business.
So you've done your research, you've figured out your budget. As you said at the beginning of our discussion, think about an exit strategy. Or think about how you're going to benchmark whether or not you're being successful. One of the mistakes I made is as I said, I wrote this great business plan, right? And I thought I needed that for the bank. The bank didn't want it so much. You know who I needed it for? I needed it for me.
Yeah.
And I should have been going back to that business plan every 6 months, at least once a year, and saying, okay, this is what I thought I was going to do. So you need to have an ongoing strategy. And it's going to change, right? Especially in today's world. As I said, I just came back from this conference of entrepreneurship centers globally. And the one thing that's for sure is that we're having some major changes are coming on, and they're coming on fast.
Yeah, staying agile is important.
And a lot of that has to do with artificial intelligence. We have a big disruption. If you think about it, when we got the internet and then we got mobile phones, those were big disruptors. Another big disruptor is coming up soon, and it's going to change. So the way you're doing business now is going to have to change. So you got to be agile, right?
Yeah.
You got to know how to adjust. So take that plan out and do another year plan off that, and another one off that. So have your 1-year strategy, your 3-year strategy, your 5-year, your 10-year strategy. And they don't have to be long, big documents, but at least put some milestones down on paper. So this is what I'm trying to accomplish. Because once you get into that business, you are going to be so busy trying to do the day-to-day that you're not going to be able to sit back and give yourself a weekend of strategic planning, because you'll feel like, I don't have the time for that. You got to make the time for that. So that would be another thing that I'd say I didn't do. So make sure you have your strategy, and make sure that strategy can be agile enough to make the changes that are going to be needed as you continue to grow your business and determine that you want to get out of that business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
Well,
I think that about wraps it for me
yeah.
here, Jeff.
Well, Patty, thank you very much for
Sure.
taking the time today to
Absolutely.
chat. All of our, startup founders that we have on, we invite you to give a 30-second shameless plug, about yourself, or, I know you're not in business anymore, but if you want to talk a little bit about the Cottrell Entrepreneurial Center here.
So the Dr. Edwin Cottrell Entrepreneurial
Cottrell.
Center, big mouthful there, was established in 2009 here at Westchester University. It was funded as a gift from a gentleman by the name of Gary Daniels, who is the owner of Creative Financial. So the business, the center has grown substantially since 2009. What we basically do is we have programming that supports not only students but also the community. So we do have a lot of community involvement. We have close relationships with the Chester County Economic Development Council, the Greater Westchester Chamber of Commerce, SCORE of Chester and Delaware County, Keiretsu Forum, Mid-Atlantic, just to name a few. And our goal, as I said to you earlier today, is to really support the development of new businesses and to help businesses that are already operating to continue to operate.
Mm-hmm.
So we are a support arm. We're there to help you put together your plan. We're there to help you with the strategies that I just talked about.
Yeah.
We're there to connect you with other resources that could possibly help you if we don't have the help available here.
Mm-hmm.
We put on workshops, competitions that members of Chester County. We have 4 tracks in our business idea competition, for example, and one of those tracks is Chester County startups. There's prize money attached to that.
Oh, great.
So and we could connect you with different funding sources. We're really a resource, and the point that I want to make to everyone out there is we're not just a resource for our university students, so they are one of our most important customers, of course, but we're also a resource for members of our community.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Patty, for taking the time
Thank
today.
you, Jeff, for speaking with me.
Yeah, it was great talking
Appreciate
with you.
it. You
and
too.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
So,
Thanks, everyone.
And I'll include some of the information to the Cottrell Center
Mhm.
in the description of the video, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next Startup Junto founder video.
Great. Thank you.